the FNL Network talk show.
Welcome to the FNL Network talk show, and this is the 150th episode of the talk show, and super excited. I want to say thank you to everyone involved and all the viewers, and we are multi-award winning talk show, so I appreciate the Taste Awards for that. Thank you, Duchess, for those rockets. That's amazing. In this episode, we have not shared any topics with any other co-hosts, so no one has any idea what we're going to be discussing. So this is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope everyone enjoys it. I don't think we need to intro anybody because we know who we are, and the viewers hopefully know who we are as well. So I'm just going to jump in it. I'm going to start with the first topic. So we saw the disastrous debate a couple of weeks ago, and now the Democratic Party is trying to push Biden out. RFK Jr. is trying to get on the ticket. Trump's still going strong. In 3 sentences, Duchess, what do you think about what's happening?
Is there another candidate? Question mark. I honestly don't feel either like super qualified. I personally don't like Donald Trump for the fact that he is just not a nice person, the way that he demeans women. I don't think that's okay. I don't want someone running our country who's basically a narcissist. But I mean, I'm hopeful for another candidate that's just going to pop up last minute, because it's a pretty big job to run the United States of America.
Okay, Brianna.
Brana?
Brana, oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm like, is there a Brianna?
I'm sorry, Brana. And you've been hosting Fashion News Live for so long, I should know.
Yeah, I've known you for several years, but it's okay. Next topic. Anyway, so
right. What's your name?
Yeah, what's it? No, my opinion on this actually, yeah, it's similar to Duchess. I mean, why are these the only options? I think, you know, as I've become an adult and through COVID, I've kind of, you know, explored the, how our system works. And it's just, I feel that we're headed in a direction where we're becoming, you know, kind of a joke. I mean, is our education system even working? These candidates are a joke. Like, where's the education? If you look at the candidates of the past, they were so much more articulate. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay, David.
Look, I just got back from Europe, and you know we got issues when comedians over in Europe are making fun of everything that we're doing and getting even deeper into our states. The one thing that I was pretty surprised with, though, and I just didn't expect it, and was a lot of people over in Europe were absolutely in love with Trump, and it wasn't because of him and his policies of how he acts and everything. Because I'm one of the first people to admit that, you know, yeah, he's not like Reagan. He doesn't have that charm that everybody likes, but he gets straight to the point. And what I've noticed was that the rest of the world over there was saying, hey, if you guys get Trump in, we don't have to worry about the wars that are going on. Because when he was in, he was making policies. You don't have to like the guy. And I've said this before, as a as a coach, I see it all the time. If I'm winning games, or we're winning games, I don't have to feel that for some reason that, I guess if we're winning games, I'm going to be happy as long as he's not abusing me, you know, or abusing the players, whatever. If we're losing games and he's acting like that, then he's an ass and we need him out. But from what I'm seeing for the Democrats, I'm curious too. I don't know what they have, who they've got. I think Biden is a lot more likable than Kamala. I think Kamala is off in her own world in the same place. I think that if Kennedy were to get in, I don't think he's too far left enough. I don't think he's liberal enough for what the Democrats want. And I think that if they try to get Gavin into it, I mean, for me, it's like, then who's going to be the governor here and who's going to take care? I think Gavin has made such a mess of California itself. I don't think anybody outside of the United States wants to deal with it. And, ultimately, it's kind of funny because, like I said, we were on a ship and they had a guy from London. He was a comedian, and he was he was like asking him, he goes, "Yeah, I don't like to get into politics, but what's going on in the US?" And he said I thought it was funny because he had asked how many Trump supporters were there, and people looked around the room afraid to say anything, because it's almost as if you say you want to vote for Trump, you're going to get blackballed or you're going to piss people off. But he said, but then he laughed about it, and he said, well, the worst case scenario is you guys can get that guy Gavin in. And I'm laughing. I'm going, the hell, how bad is it that they're going after our state governors now? So the world's watching. The world is watching everything we do. And from what I've seen in Ireland and Scotland and London, and even when I was in Amsterdam talking to somebody, they all said the same thing. They said, the one thing we did, we don't have to like Trump. We didn't like him. Our government was telling us not to like him when they first started. Our media was telling us not to like him. But the reality is we didn't have any wars. We didn't have anything going because everybody didn't want to mess with Trump, because whether we like it or not, he's a live wire and you don't want to piss the guy off. And so I think even Putin was like that. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen. I think it's kind of messed up what they're doing to Biden. And, I don't have to like the guy, but it's senior abuse right now. The guy is lost. They're using him. In fact, this is the first time in history that they actually had a debate this early. And I know in my heart they did it so that they can panic and get somebody else in before he gets into the real debates in September or November or whenever they do it. I don't know. I'm not that good in politics. I'm just speaking what I've seen abroad. And, for the most part, I'm very interested in seeing what they do. I really would like to see him put a candidate up there that can actually hold his own and actually is an extremist. I think that right now it's hard for Biden, or it's hard for Trump to even argue with Biden, because Biden doesn't even know he's there. It's just,
Right.
the Democrats are spinning their wheels going, holy crap, what do we do? Well, it's been created. We all knew it was coming. What's the next step? It's like watching a soap opera right now. I'm just waiting to see what happens next.
Corey?
Yeah, the thing that interests me is we had this conversation before last time, and we ended up with Biden, because there was this whole anybody but Trump attitude that put Biden in office in the first place. And again, a lot of the complaints that I hear are about the things that he might say here and there, he's mean, he's this, he's that. Policy wise, the guy got things done all over the world, right? And sometimes that abrasive attitude that he had it's in response to some of the abrasiveness that's coming from the other direction anyways. Some of the abrasiveness that we're the generation that grew up on South Park and Family Guy. And this dude comes along and all of us, half of us anyway, start acting like, oh my gosh, can you believe he said that? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of our thing. It's kind of our generation's thing. It's kind of what we do. We're the whole woke thing was a response to how much in that direction a lot of our generation decided to go. We're tired of it. We say things that are ridiculously over the top and explosive to point out how ridiculous and over the top it really is, right? That's that sense of humor that I see in a guy like Trump, is the things that he's saying are obviously ridiculous. They're obviously ridiculous to him. They're obviously ridiculous to everyone, but he says it with the right intent, in my opinion, and at the right time and at the right moment. And this attitude of anybody but Trump came along and we got Biden. And I remember the last time that we did this. Biden was like this in the last debates. The first couple of debates, he was lethargic and slow and mumbled. And then on the last one, all of a sudden he won that one because this dude, I don't know, was coked out of his mind or something, because all of a sudden he had this energy that came out of nowhere on the final debate. And people's memories were so short, they forgot the other one. And here we are a couple of years later, and everybody forgets that this is the same exact guy. So, but people like me have been saying for a long time, what's going on with this guy? And now they have the debates, and all of a sudden everybody's acting shocked. I mean, who has not been watching this guy? Who's actually shocked that it went this way during the debates? Has anybody been paying attention to Joe Biden for the last 8 years? I don't think there's anything shocking about it for me. So yeah, the other countries can complain for the ones David's talking about that might be complaining, when the rest of them are looking at it the same way that we are. None of the mean stuff or the tweets, which I wouldn't even know what he tweets about unless the news told me about it. I don't even care. right? They're the ones telling me out. They're the ones freaking out. It's everybody freaking out. Did you hear what he said? I'm like, okay, and clearly he said that on purpose though. And that's a little bit different from what we're seeing with Biden. And that's a little more comforting, but he also gets things done. I'm sorry, but he gets things done. I had more money in my pocket. Most people had more money in their pocket. We had the end of the Korean War. We had plans that were actually peaceful in the Middle East. We did not have these issues with Russia. There's a lot, and everybody, I remember last time, oh, he's going to start World War III. Yeah, well, turns out no. He presided over one of the most peaceful times we've seen in the 20th century. And as soon as he got out, war again. And that's the thing that everybody seems to be ignoring, in my opinion, because we're all obsessed with whatever the hell this guy said on Twitter. Does that make sense?
That's one thing that I saw. I have to admit, overseas, I talked to a lot of different people from all over the world when I was out there. And that was one of the things they brought up. They said, you know what? You don't have to like the guy. He goes, but I can tell you what, I feel a lot safer in my country when he's in charge, because we know that at least America's been, I'm reading, I read the book on killing Patton. I read the book on, I love World War II, and reading what was happening and the way that that Patton went after Stalin, and the way the world works behind the scenes. We don't get to see this much. Our media does not talk about the reality of what's going on across the pond. And the one thing that I did notice from everybody across the world, they all said the same thing. Yeah, well, you know what? I don't like the guy. He's a jerk. He says some stupid stuff. He's a womanizer. He's an ass. But I tell you what, it's the best thing for our world right now, because the world doesn't fight when he's in charge, because America has to go back to what they used to do. And that's we kind of police things. We police things not because we're in charge and we want to be in charge. It's because people look at us and say, hey, you have the power. You have the support. You're the most industrialist country in the world at one point. You're supposed to be able to come out there and do the right thing. We grew up all believing that America can do no wrong from all the movies and books we read. And we all know that's not quite the truth. But for the fact is that the people around the world still see it that way. And we have a responsibility as Americans to say, hey, we got to kind of keep the world peace, because we are in charge. And Russia's toying with it. He's waiting. Putin's waiting to see, what are we going to do? I mean, look, I don't even have to like Trump. I can hate Trump all I want. Don't put Biden in, because we're in trouble. Because there's a group of people that are running Biden. Biden doesn't know what he is. He's a puppet right now. Poor guy, and I can dislike him all I want, but that's elder abuse, what they're doing with that guy. So, I mean, but I see what you're saying, and I think it's sad that I watched probably 10 comedians in the last 3 weeks across the world, and every one of them had to say before they started, please don't get offended with what I'm about to say. But, it's like, come on, man, that's what comedy was for. We were able to laugh at ourselves because we're a bunch of idiots. We do things all the time. That's what we do. We laugh at our stupid mistakes. We laugh at ourselves, and we have to be able to express ourselves to get it out. And we're not getting that opportunity anymore.
That's what comedy is. That's what politics is. That's what freedom is. That's what it is to be an American, is to be able to express your ideas out loud. You don't get to tell someone else to shut up as though their ideas don't matter or don't hold some sort of value out loud. Of course they do. And so I don't get me wrong either. I see all that, people's feelings about Trump. Carry, one of the presidents had said, speak softly, but carry a big stick. And Trump definitely carries a big stick, but he does not speak softly. And that's the comparison, right? That's the side.
If Trump can't fight with Biden, he starts fighting with himself, and that's the big problem. That's why I say get somebody smarter in there that you can actually argue with, and they can go banter back and forth. Because right now he's fighting with a pillow, and and when he gets mad because he can't piss Biden off. Biden doesn't even know he's mad. He just gets mad because he probably has a little light, or his wife is over there putting a finger up. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. And he goes, oh, I should get mad now. I don't know what it is. Put Gavin in there. I don't care. Let's have a real battle.
One thing about
I would prefer Biden over Gavin.
The one thing about Trump is the fact that he truly is a good negotiator. He is a really great businessman, but he's not very trustworthy. That's the problem. Like, can we trust him? I mean, he has the qualities it takes to become, a great president and to go to war and to negotiate with different countries. But can we trust him? Like, is he on the up and up of what he's going to be doing with that power?
I honestly don't think I can trust any politicians. That's just what I've always been like that. I feel like a long time ago, poly means many, and politics means a blood-sucking insect. So that's the
I
way I've
kind of
always
feel-
looked at it.
I kind of
And
feel
then
that
he
that
gets
is. I kind of feel that that is the appeal of Trump, though, is that, like David would say, we're historians, right? There have not been presidents, particularly in the 20th century, that you could look at and say, yeah, I'd like to sit down and have a beer with that guy. So many of them were womanizers. So many of them were braggarts. So many of them were loudmouths. So many of them said one thing and did the exact opposite, right? Now, at least with Trump, again, like David says, like him or not, everybody keeps saying he's not trustworthy, but the funny part to me is, like, actually, I think the dude says whatever comes to his mind. I think he's completely transparent on whatever comes to his mind. The scary part is sometimes it seems like his mind does tend to change, for sure.
Well,
But
he's
you don't,
egotistical.
but
I
you
mean,
don't get to the place that he is and make those kinds of billions without having focus, without having intent, without having the ability to do all that negotiating, which becomes extremely necessary when you are in a leadership position. That's my opinion.
So I would like to ask Bethany. Bethany,
Yeah, sorry,
what's
Bethany.
your opinion? And then after
Yeah,
Bethany, I'll give my opinion.
Yeah, so as Brana and Duchess were kind of touching on, my whole thing would be, is there another candidate for both sides? Because neither of the options are ideal. Trump, as Duchess said, he's a narcissist. I can see it all the time. I'm like, what? I guess he likes the attention. I guess he likes the power. That's the only reason I can come up with as to why he would want to be president. He says that he wants to fix the country. I don't really think that's what he cares about. Because he says it in these different ways. I personally don't trust him either. Do I trust Biden? No. He's always been a little bit wacko, a little bit out of touch. I remember there were all these gaffes when he was vice president, so I don't really think this is anything new. It's just we're seeing the further and further decline because he's getting older, and that's just part of it. He really should retire. So should Trump. Sorry, please retire. I know you're more cognitively there technically, but he's getting up there too. He is in retirement age. Please just retire. Take a walk, go to the beach, hang out. You don't need to be running the country. Just give yourself a break, man. I personally don't like Trump, so I think, the reason why Biden did get in is because no one really liked Trump, at least for the more moderate and not conservative part of the country did not like Trump. Some Republicans don't even like Trump just because of the way he behaves. He's not really respectable. He's more leads with the stick, which is one way to lead. Don't get me wrong, but you have to be respectable. Just the way he behaves is just almost like a child throwing a temper tantrum, but the child has a gun instead. So that is just personal opinion. I don't really like him. I'll admit, he did some things that were okay, but there were some things that he did that were harmful, really dividing the country, being just so divisive, which that's been coming, but you don't need to make it worse. And he's definitely made it worse. I mean, there were the Charlottesville riots, and then there was January 6th. There's just such an area of division. We do not need someone making it worse. We just need someone with a solid head who at least will try to make things better, but they just need to have a good head on their shoulders and really just put the effort in. I don't know who that is. Can't speak for anybody, but we just need someone like that. And that's just what I think.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for your opinion. So my opinion is this, and I'll try to be straight to the point. So I've met Trump. I've socialized with Trump at Fashion Week. I've actually sued Trump, and I won because I was supposed to be paid for something that I wasn't.
I was supposed to be with you on that, Sue, right? You were supposed to hook me up.
Exactly. Exactly. This was a long time ago. But the fact of the matter is, as a business owner, as an adult and a taxpayer, my life was better when he was the president. And the fact of the matter is, I don't care about his personal life. I care about how he runs the country. And in my opinion, the country needs to be run like a business. It needs to be respected and feared, because on the global scale of the world, weakness is not respected at all. And what's scary, very scary, is that there's millions and millions and millions of people that have come into our country that we have no idea where they're from. For all we know, there could be 100 September 11th that happen again because the borders are wide open. My wife is from a foreign country, and we did it the right way and followed the process for her to come here and immigrate here to the United States. And millions of people just skipped that line and came in. That's wrong. So there's a lot of things I could talk about, but the fact of the matter is this. Currently, the president's incompetent, and everyone finally sees that. I'm wondering who is really running the government, who's running our country, who's calling the shots. You know, that's what's scary. We don't know. I believe that there should be term limits. I wish that there were 40-something-year-olds that were filled in the Senate, in Congress, in the House, and presidents, young, fresh, but we don't have that. And the reality is, I really don't believe that Biden is going to back out unless he dies, and definitely Trump's not going to back out. I just hope we have fair and honest elections. I'll tell you something else. I personally know a group of immigrants that came to the United States from a different country, and they went to go get benefits because they came here with not that much. And when they received their benefits, you know what they received? Voter registration cards. And I said to myself, how the hell can they vote? They're not citizens. And I just think that's so ridiculous. So those are my opinions on that topic. I want a strong leader that will be respected, and at the end of the day will cut taxes and make my life and the life of people I care about safer and better. I think Newsom is a joke. California is a lawless state, and it's a joke. What he's done to California is horrible. My father lived in California when Reagan was the governor, and my dad tells me all the time, oh, it was amazing back then. It was safe, it was nice. The California now is not what it used to be back then during the Reagan government years. So that's my opinion. Who would like to go next? Okay,
I could go
Duchess.
because
Perfect.
oh, never mind.
Oh,
Like in school raising my hand. I'm just accustomed to that. So speaking of fraud and Trump, I'd like to talk about counterfeiting and how it's really come to the surface. I feel in the past at least year, I'm seeing pop-ups on Instagram and social media of counterfeit Chanel bags. For instance, there was Nordstrom. It said it was Nordstrom Rack was the company, which is a legitimate company, and they're selling Chanel bags for $200, and that's just not possible. First of all, it decreases the value of the bag when anyone can have a Chanel bag. I also feel like the millennials flipped the script on us with that, and the rentals and everything with Switch. That's a really, really big deal. And I feel extremely passionate about intellectual property and emotional intelligence and all of that. And I honestly feel like I'm not okay with counterfeit being acceptable. What do you think? I mean, first of all, my question is this: do you agree with that counterfeit is actually okay? Question number one. Question number two, have you ever bought anything that's counterfeit?
okay, I'll go first.
I could go. Oh,
All right. Who, Duchess? Who goes first? You can pick.
Rocco, you go.
Okay. Well, being in New York and living in New York before and going there so many times, you walk down Canal Street and you're getting hit nonstop. Buy this, and it's Rolexes. It's literally everything on the ground that you could buy for pennies on the dollar compared to what it really is. And yes, it devalues what it is. What a current scam is that everyone needs to be aware of is myself and a family member actually bought some stuff online. We didn't know if it was counterfeit or not, but we actually never got the items. and had to dispute it with the credit card company. So there's like scams online. Oh, you can this and buy that and buy that. And I just believe that I think absolutely not. There should be no counterfeits, but how do you protect it? You have China making all this stuff and smuggling it in, and it being sold, I guess, on the black market. Even in Los Angeles, there's a road called Santee Alley that counterfeits are abundant as well. I mean, it's difficult to control it, I think, when you don't have the law in place and enough police on the streets to, I guess, control that. And then the other question is, well, hey, you know, would you rather stop a murder and a rape or stop a counterfeit bag? And I think, you know, with the little police force that I'm speaking in California that we have, every time I see a cop, I'm like, oh my God, it's like Christmas. There's actually a police officer here, because it's so lawless. You know, I think they pick and choose over what safety they need to protect and so on. Okay, I'm done.
David?
I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and we had a term called poser. And if you got caught being a poser, it's up to you. It is what it is. I used to, when I was in the Navy, we'd go down to Tijuana. They try to sell you a Rolex, and we found out later that it's not a real Rolex. It wasn't stolen. It wasn't cheap. It's a fake Rolex. It's counterfeit. I mean, I had to shop in pennies. We were poor growing up. You know, I mean, half the crap I had growing up was counterfeit. My grandma tried to take some corduroys and sew a Levi's tag on it so I didn't feel stupid when I went to school when everybody made fun of me for not wearing Levi's. Materialistic world. It is what it is. I think when it comes down to it, yes, they have enough police force out there to do what they need to do. But the reality is when I buy something and I'm going to go after it, I'm not happy that it's an astronomical price. Like if I'm going to order something, maybe a t-shirt, and it's like the dumbest price in the world. Like if I told my friends or family, hey, I bought this for $800, it's a t-shirt. They're going to look at me like, dude, what is it made out of gold? Like every little strand is gold. And I started thinking to myself, maybe it should be. 99% of the time, these people are not doing something that's so spectacular, so individual, so different, so unique that it's worth the price of what they're paying. What's happening is people overprice it. It's like art. I'm an artist. I paint. I can paint the most idealistic, most realistic painting there is, where sometimes people look at it and say, oh, I thought that was a photograph. To me, that's art. And then you go see, and it's not a knock on Picasso. I'm just going to say, then you see abstract or some weird crap that looks like my 10-year-old nephew just threw some paint on a canvas, and he went out there and it's selling for $2.1 million. And I'm looking at it going, what the hell? Why is that? Well, it's because of who he knew. It was the people that were like, oh, I'm going to hook him up. And then I'm going to hook my friend up. And then I'm going to hook my friend up that got that painting over here. I'm going to hook them up. It's stupid. Nobody really cares, but it's worth the money because there's money involved. I think a lot of these companies make products that are absolutely ridiculously overpriced. I just went to Dublin, Ireland, went into the factory, went into where they make the beer itself, saw all the process of it, saw how unique it is. In fact, that beer processing has never changed since 50 years before America even became a country. It is immaculate. It's still a price for the beer that you can afford. Why? Because people are buying a product that everybody liked in the first place. I've seen companies come out there right now with something new and, oh my God, it's $400. It must be important. There must be something about that. And they overcharge. And so people out there are like, dude, you know what? That's a cool purse. I like that purse. Looks good. Nobody's going to really care. Who's going to stop me on the streets and ask me, hey, is that counterfeit? No, they're going to be like, oh, I think she had I don't even know what brand of purse is big out there. I don't know. They're going to look at it from far, unless you're searching for it. You're going to look at it and say, oh, that's a nice purse. I like that purse. I know where they got that. That's a, whatever, blah, blah purse. But the reality is, I think these companies overprice stuff because they have a lot of people in their little circle or the business circle. God, I hate to say this, but it's almost like certain things in politics right now. You got politicians that are making money. If you read books and you see what's going on in history, a lot of things that don't make sense to us general people that are just walking around just trying to live life, we're like, oh my God, that's so expensive. I wonder why. When you really find out and you follow the tape, and the tape leads you all the way back to somebody propped somebody else up, somebody hooked somebody else up. There's a lot of money. It's overpriced. There's a lot of crap that's being sold on the market that's ridiculous. You can go to a place where I mean, hell, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. I've seen an art where people would take dumps on a canvas and people would go in there with wine in their hands and they're like, that's so artistic, that's so beautiful. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? And it's because there's so much money involved up there. So I'm not going to say that counterfeit is bad. But I'm not going to say it's right either. I mean, if I'd be pissed off, that's why I watermark my stuff. You know, at least you could say, oh, there's counterfeit. Hell, I mean, how the hell do you even make fake IDs anymore? Have you looked at your real IDs in California? Have you looked at your passports and the stuff on it? You got to be a genius to be. I think if you can fake that, then hey, by all means, do what you got to do. Fake it till you make it. But the reality is, I get where you're coming from, Brana, where you hate the fact that people are counterfeiting, and I get it.
Duchess.
But or Duchess, I'm sorry. I can't see the faces. I'm looking at the names. I'm trying to guess. I just met Duchess and Suzanne tonight. So I'm just saying. Anyways, the reality is I don't know if it's important to me. It's not important to me. It's really not. I live in a family that they'd laugh at my dumb ass if I went out and spend $300 or $400 on something for a t-shirt or a bag or boots, unless it's the ultimate thing that I'm trying to sell later. If I can resell it, that's an investment. But buying a t-shirt or a purse or something that I'm never going to give anybody, now I'm buying into the name. And so I don't quite get the counterfeit stuff. It sucks, but I don't really care. I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of guy. What's
Brana,
that?
how do you feel about this as a model in the industry?
Well, I think that, there is a lot of back end work that goes into designing and producing and the intellectual property that, and that's why the price is higher. But I think that a lot of these things that people are actually replicating, they have such a reputation that there's such demand that they have huge profits because, they have that name where people want it. So I don't think it's a huge deal for the company. And it's not a huge deal for me personally, but I do think it's wrong. I think it's a bigger deal when large fashion houses rip off independent designers because they don't have the resources, to fight against, this sort of intellectual property theft. So that's.
Yeah,
I agree with that. That's very, very important right there. You're right.
There's two things in the fashion world that don't exist that they've tried and they don't, and it kind of sucks. I wish they had it. Two things: a model union, like SAG for actors, but there's no union for models. And the second thing is there's no way to trademark a fashion pattern. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing. You could create something as a fashion designer and then someone can copy it. Zhang Toy, he's a famous fashion designer in New York City, and he shows every year. He's amazing. He's been on the network so many times. We did a feature on him on Carol's living room. He made a dress called the New York City dress. And another huge designer, massive, I think it was Michael Kors. I think literally
dropping
copied
names.
this
I
dress.
think it
Or was
might have
it
been like Tom Ford or
it
was some big name designer, but it wasn't Michael Kors.
Yeah.
I remember seeing
Okay.
this.
Yes. And he literally just about copied Zhang's dress and put it on the runway, and everybody, the New York Post, they side-by-side comparison and was like, Zhang Toy this season, this year, and that other designer this season, this year. And everyone was like, oh my God. And there was nothing you could do about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it costs like $57 to make a Chanel bag. So I do understand why
Right. I
people
saw
are
that.
trying to get like a Chanel bag for a few $100s versus like 7,000, but you know, it's obviously wrong. And you know, like I know if I'm carrying something that's fake, like I don't want to do that personally.
That's
And then
why
you're also a target
yeah.
for crime.
True.
Switch has changed the game as far as accessible luxury. In Switch, it's a subscription. So you can do Switch Select, which means you can choose handbags and you pay your, let's say, $230 a month. Then you can have a Chanel bag and a couple of, Hermes bracelets and things like that. And then when you're ready to switch to a different handbag, let's say Hermes or Yves Saint Laurent, then you may do so. But it's you're paying a subscription to have that privilege. And
Yeah,
it's
everything.
authentic though. It's authentic, it's not counterfeit.
Yeah, everything's moving to like the rental model or the leasing model. It's not owning anymore.
Yeah.
And Switch is not sponsoring this episode, but they better.
Marketing 101.
Switch, we just plugged you. You better send us $100,000 now. Okay.
Yes. Corey, what's your take on
Okay.
I mean, I grew up buying things like Jokelys, fake versions of Oakleys, all kinds of different things that, like David said, we didn't grow up with a lot. And I wasn't as concerned with it because I just kind of saw what my parents were working with. So my younger brother was more concerned. So I didn't get hand-me-downs. I got hand-me-ups, and I got David's hand-me-downs. And so I think, my friends and I, we got a little older. We looked at all that and the stress they were all going through for that stuff. And man, we were thrift store people. We would just go find some stuff that worked for us. And even as an adult now, I look at a pair of Nikes and I'm like, man, I'm not going to buy those for my kids because I don't know if you guys know this, but kids have this barrier around their foot that just literally melts shoes away within a week or two. It doesn't matter who it is. So why am I going to spend that kind of money when they're going to go out and just destroy these things so fast? And then that's if they don't grow out of it in a month or two. So I had looked at the quality of something like Nike and been like, yeah, it's like you said, the bags maybe $57. But I also understand the other side of it. I understand I can't stand Pollock. I can't stand Picasso like David can't either. But I understand that people that own those, that it's an investment. People that are owning Coach bags, it's an investment. I understand it from that perspective. Because my wife had to explain that to me because I'm over here like, I don't get it because it's a purse. There's so many things I could buy, but that's a purse. It's a bag. What's going on? And she explained though how they invest in these things. I said, okay, that makes sense to me. I can understand that. Whether it's my thing or not, I can understand it. And so I do see the necessity of protecting that, like Rocco was pointing out, like Brana and Duchess, everybody's pointing out, needs to be protected, of course. And as far as I know, I'm just assuming, I thought there already are laws out there to protect against that kind of stuff, at least to some extent. As far as counterfeiting, because you bring it up, and I'm thinking money. Of course, they don't let them counterfeit money, right? There's laws against fake IDs and things of that nature. But if it's not in the fashion world, that definitely sucks. In a world closer to me, like the haunted house world, you guys have all heard of Spirit Halloween stores. They pop up everywhere. Every time there's an empty building, one of those guys is around the corner sneaking, waiting to get in, and they pop up. And in our world, we have personally known people that design props for their haunted house that kind of blew up online, and everybody's like, oh, such a great job. This is so amazing. And then next year, there's some cheap knockoff version of that exact thing in Spirit Halloween store. So we've witnessed that same kind of thing happen in other industries as well. And it does suck because now this big company is going to go and make money off of something that was this gorgeous handmade original idea. So I see it from both angles. And I do think, obviously there should be some form of laws, some sort of protection. Like Rocco was saying something. I mean, the music industry didn't have it for years either. Right. And there's some of those guys from the 50s and 60s and the doo-wop scene are just now finally getting some of the money they're owed and deserved from being played for decades and decades, So probably there needs to be an overhaul and a change there. That's what I say, Duchess.
Thank you.
That's an interesting
That's-
concept.
or-
I mean, I maybe it comes down to it. I guess I look at it on the aspect of it is the company that's making the product, is it an investment? This is something I found out in the art world. I could paint all I want. I could paint 1,000 things. Hell, half the time I give my paintings away, which pisses everybody off. They're like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's stupid." The reality is I started
well, I
finding
didn't
out.
get one yet.
Yeah, well, you haven't invested yet. No,
That's
no.
right. That's right.
I found out down the road, artists, or people that actually buy art, they buy for the investment value versus how much they like the painting.
Mhm.
And I'm a dummy. I'm like, oh, that's an amazing painting. I want that on my wall in my house. And then later on, somebody tells me, oh, you know what? That could be worth something. And the reality is, it's like we saw a Bible in Scotland in a church that was one of the original New Testament Bibles, King James versions. And my brother turns to me and goes, dude, could you imagine how much that's worth? Well, guess what? I think Corey and I found a Bible in a little antique store that was from like the 1700s. And we thought, oh my God, we just struck it rich. Here we go. It was like $5. Why? Because there were so many that were produced. It's the most produced book in the history of the world. And so the value has gone down. So I understand where Duchess is coming from, where does value go down? But somehow they need to get some smart people on all these products where they are really have a way to tweak it where you can't counterfeit it. And if you do, you can tell the difference. I think the Rolex was, oh, does it have 5 crowns or 6? 6 meant it was counterfeit. You can sell it without getting sued. 5 meant you're going to get sued if they find out it's counterfeit. But I don't know. I'm not in that industry. I don't understand it, but I can understand the investment part of it. So that's interesting. I never really thought about that. Thanks for bringing that question up.
As someone who is in the industry, you know, I have some opinions. Um,
Yes. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so first of all, when it comes to the laws, there are only two that apply to design, which is trademarking logos and then trademarking certain prints. So like Burberry plaid is trademarked. You can't reproduce that plaid that they have on the inside of their coats, but you could do a knockoff of it where it's like 1 or 2, 3 threads are different, or the way you produce it is different. But that's an example. That's all we have the protections for, which is kind of sucky because when it comes to clothes, you can have this really innovative design, like what Zhang Toy had, and someone can just rip it off.
Mm.
I remember one time, you know, like I pay attention to the music industry. I heard Taylor Swift go, "My songs aren't a pair of shoes. You can't just sell them off without talking to me." Um, and I was like, I wish it weren't like a pair of shoes. I wish you had a different comparison because, you know, it kind of sucks that some places can do all this copying. As far as like price gouging goes, there is some of that with the bigger brands because they can. You're paying for the name. But you can ultimately tell the difference between an authentic designer versus a knockoff usually. If you're in the industry, you know, like you can tell the material's slightly different. The way it's stitched is just very different. There's all these little things that you can look at. But I mean, there should be some protections, of course. When it comes to the bigger brands, I don't really care if someone knocks them off. I mean, yeah, it kind of sucks, but my whole thing is independent designers who I see every day or work with all the time. I don't want to see them getting knocked off because it could kill them. Like this bigger brand is selling this other thing and it's getting all this attention and it's taking the attention away from the person who originally created it.
Hmm.
So it is a big problem and it needs to be fixed. I don't know how you would do it, but it needs to be done for sure.
In the Harley world, because I ride Harleys, we always say, hey, why are you paying for the Harley? And we're like, you're paying for the name. You're paying for we call it the Harley tax. You can buy it from Harley and you do know that usually the product works. It's a good product, but you're paying, you can probably get a cheap knockoff version that'll do the same exact job and do the exact same thing. It just won't have the Harley logo on it. But a lot of the times we pay the Harley tax, because we know for a fact that we're paying for the name. And I mean, but that's the only thing I can relate to when it comes to brand names and logos. So, I mean, all of you talking about it makes me really think about that. Like, I guess there is a little bit more to the knockoffs than anything. I thought the knockoffs were just designed for us poor people. So we could actually look like and feel like we're rich or something, you know? And,
I mean,
and
there's a
it's up
difference
to you if you get caught.
There's a difference between knocking
Poser.
something off, like a generic version, than a counterfeit. Counterfeit is you're replicating the label. You're replicating the
Yeah.
exact design to a T, whereas a knockoff or a generic brand, it's just going to be basically the same thing, just with a different logo or no logo.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the important distinction there.
Yes,
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
I agree with that.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
Has everyone answered that question? I think they have, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so we'll just go in the same order. So next. Okay, David, go.
I just
David's
want
next,
nobody
sorry.
to pick it.
Raising hands now.
I have, yeah, hey, that's what you do. Usually I have my hand up like this, but I talk too much, so the teacher never wanted me to keep talking. So I have a question, and this is one that I've bounced around. I've investigated. I looked it up. I tried to figure it out. What do you guys think about the electoral college vote in America? Does it work? Was it a smart idea in the beginning, or is it something that has gotten kind of out of hand to the point that we have something that they call the what is it called? Electoral college faithless votes. Faithless votes, what I found out has happened 157 times in history, where somebody who has the electoral vote or electoral college vote from the people amass changed the vote based on what they wanted to do and went against the people. So my question to you guys is, do you think the electoral vote should be something that should be abolished and allowed to the popularity of the entire country, or should we stick to it? I'm just curious what you guys think. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I would actually like to learn more about it, and hopefully you guys can answer that question. I'm going to start off with Beth, because Beth keeps going last.
So as far as the electoral college goes, I understand why they set it up to begin with, but at this point, I don't see the purpose because the country is so big now. And really, it comes down to getting the numbers in the electoral college. It's like you're playing a game instead of going for the people and being by the people. Instead of doing that, you're just playing a numbers game by pulling from specific states and trying to win specific states while ignoring others because you know they're not going to decide the election. So I think it would probably be best to go to popular vote at this point in time. It would make more sense, but that is just my personal opinion on that one.
I agree with
kind of why I
Bethany,
brought it up.
100%. I agree with Bethany.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was thinking about it. Duchess, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I think, in regards to voting, I think that a lot more people need to get off their couch and go and actually vote. So we can have a decision one way or the other. Because if you don't like either candidate, you don't vote, then you're still screwed either way. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes a lot
I
of
have a
sense.
saying.
Oh, go ahead.
If you don't vote, then STU.
You know,
that's my saying.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think I've told you that before myself. Hey, one of the things that I found is that there's something, one of the arguments that there's out there is that the possible role of electoral college is it depresses voter turnout. For instance, I was one of those idiots in California that when I was younger, when my dad would be like, well, are you going to go vote? I'm like, why should I vote? I'm not going to win that. We already know who's voting for us. And my dad's like, you still got to go vote. You got to vote. For the longest time, I felt like my vote means jack. You know what I was about to say. I'm trying to be PG here. I always felt, I felt my vote meant nothing. So that's one of the arguments a lot of people have is it depresses voter turnout by having that. What do you think, Suzanne? Right?
Yeah. I agree.
Not Suzanne. I'm sorry, Duchess. Brana. I can't see your damn faces on the top of this thing up here. How do I get rid of that view? Oh, there's a view. Brana. God, I've been in Europe for the last 3 weeks. I've been out of it. I'm starting to figure my technology's, pizzazz is gone. I apologize. Brandon, what do you think?
So first of all, I'm sorry if I'm like waving or there's a mosquito I'm battling here.
Oh, I thought you were trying to get my
I
attention.
thought you
No, I'm
were
just joking.
voguing. I thought you were voguing there.
No.
Right.
So I grew up in Canada, so you have to be a little bit patient with me. But I think both sides do things to kind of manipulate the outcome here. I think with redistricting on the Republican side, and then trying to get more turnout on the Democrat side. So, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't really trust I wouldn't want there to be a change right at this moment, to be honest with you. But I do think that there is some logic to taking things to their locality. I think that, breaking things up and saying like this local culture here votes this way, and then doing it based on that has some logic. I think the popular vote also has some logic. But I wouldn't really want to change at this moment at all. I wouldn't think that's a good idea at all.
I think in 1776, this law made sense because there were so many people that lived out in the middle of nowhere. Look, I just flew across Canada and I met a lot of Canadians. Oh my God, you guys, your population is like 3 different parts of Canada. In between, there's absolutely nothing, and the people that are out there are just, they're the wilderness people. In fact, it's like driving across America. If you've ever drove across America, I swear to God, every time I drive across America, the first thing I think of is like, anybody talks about this place is overpopulated, they're full of shit. I ain't gonna lie, there's nothing out here. But then you see a house out there, and how does that person feel? Whoever it is, whatever way they think. But I see what you're saying. I don't know if you can change it. I don't know if it makes sense to change it, but it's interesting. Corey, what do you think?
I love it, dude. Okay.
I knew you would. I knew you
Of course
would.
you do. What do I teach, man? What do I teach? U.S. history, U.S. government. I understand the exact purpose of it.
I should have saved you for last.
The point is to battle exactly what you're talking about. That is the 100%. Like, first of all, I ask my students the same exact question. Are we a democracy in this country? Because I hear this all the time now. Donald Trump's threatening the democracy. Oh, they're threatening. Are we a democracy? Anybody?
Yeah, we are a
Democratic
democracy.
Republic.
We are a republic. We are a constitutional republic. That is what we are, a constitutional republic. In fact, it is written multiple times. It is written into the language of the creation of this country that we do not become a democracy. Why? Because at some point in time, the majority of the people on the plantation were voting against slavery while a couple of the other guys were voting in favor of it, the ones that own them all. So we're not going to do this thing where the most popular vote is always going to be the right thing or the wrong thing. What you're supposed to be a part of is representation. And the government of this country is designed upon representation, the representation of these people. And for that, to that conversation where we're talking about the country getting larger and larger and larger, right? That's exactly why you need it. Because I'm telling you, even out here in the Antelope Valley, I don't want to live the way half of these guys in Los Angeles are living, right? And let's take one example. There's a rule in gun safety that you're always going to point the gun in the safest place. A lot of people are going to say, oh, you point the gun up. Well, you know why that doesn't make sense when you're living on the 3rd story of a building in the middle of Los Angeles? Because there's probably somebody living above you, somebody living next to you, somebody living below you. You live out in the middle of the desert, just a couple of miles away from here. Why would you have the exact same laws or rules predicating how you're going to live your life versus the people in the large cities? And part of the design of the Electoral College in the first place is to make certain that the cities don't reach the point where their masses of populations hurdled on top of each other are making laws for everyone else. That's the purpose of the entire thing in the first place, is to break it down smaller and smaller, because the larger the country gets, if we don't pay attention to those smaller and smaller sections and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, we're going to lose. We're going to lose everything.
So my
Complete
question to that,
control.
and this is where I'm confused on it. I'm not arguing with you. My question on it is, we live in a state right now. There's 3 cities that run everything, and most of the people that are in our cities are relying on the government to take care of them.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom breaks rules, bro. Our politicians here have been doing non-constitutional.
And that's probably why I'm confused on it, because I'm
You are
living in a
confused about it
state
because it's
where
not
the 3
happening.
biggest cities, it's not working. He's
In fact,
brainwashing a lot of
Right.
people in those particular areas, and all of us that are
So-
out here on the
Yes.
outskirts
and they're doing
are
things.
So
not
Los
getting
Angeles-
supported.
Yeah, they're doing
Los
things
Angeles,
that
San
don't even match
Francisco, and
the California Constitution.
Sacramento.
okay.
Yeah. And we do have our other cities. San Diego's not like that. Most of Orange County's not like that, right? But it doesn't matter because there's this population vote going on that is doing exactly what you're talking about. We are not getting represented out here in the Antelope Valley as much as people that are sitting in the middle of Hollywood, right?
That's where I guess I'm
That's on top
confused
of
on
each
the
other. And that's the
electoral
whole
vote.
thing with population is it's not just based on the population. It's also based on region. It's also based on what are the needs of this particular region. And because the United States is so massive, you got to remember things like when the states were first created, they all had different money. You know, each state had a different form of currency. We had to come together and go, man, we got to make one form of currency because there were guys in Virginia that were making exclusive deals with Mexico, and none of the rest of the states were involved in that trade, right? There were certain things that we did when we were developing the federal government that were designed to protect the small person while still being able to have a large government that could prevent, that could create military, that can do these things that are necessary. And the Electoral College fits into that. And I actually take issue anytime somebody says, when it was 1776, they couldn't foresee this. Of course, they're not soothsayers, but if you actually study them and go deep into their works, it's actually incredible the things that they were able to actually recognize were going to become a problem. Some of the things we're dealing with and talking about right now were brought up as very possible issues in 1776, right? And if you want me to go a step further with it, and this is the side where some people depart from me, it's biblical too. They went to biblical motions, biblical stories, biblical things, and went, these are the things that happen. Even if I'm not saying on a religious standpoint, they just watched how societies in Deuteronomy and Numbers just went up and down on a roller coaster. And they designed things based on that, based on France, based on their history. These were men who were super educated, knew what they were looking at, and were doing their best to make something work. Was it all perfect? Of course not. Of course not. But the idea that they were not thinking about the future at all, I can't stand that notion. They were 100% considered the future.
So who set that up? Who was it?
The founders, the founding fathers, not just the founding fathers, but you would have
John
all of the men that
Hancock.
we're talking about before this, that were the preachers, that were the, even the Yalman and layman, anyone that was out there that could be any part of any of this, right? The ones we know, of course, are because that's just the way society works. Only 2% of the population of the United States actually fought in the Revolutionary War. And out of that 2%, only 2% of them were actual leadership. Same thing goes on in our country right now. We're all discussing leadership constantly, but how many people are actually in that position, right? When you're on a football team, only 2% is going to, there's these numbers and these things that they understood intrinsically. There's people that even now, Google won't do more than 150 people in a building. If you get more than 150 people working in a building, they'll put another building directly across the street just to split that group up because they don't want to go over 150 people because problems begin. And these are the same kinds of principles that they were like in the beginning of this country. If it gets too big, it's uncontrollable. It's out of the little man's hand, and the little man will never have representation. And the design was, we got to give him representation. At first, they actually erred on the side of giving too much representation to the single man. And as a result, our Articles of Confederation in the beginning were not powerful enough to do anything to protect the people. So we changed to the constitutional republic in order for it to have some power, some set power in the federal government in order to protect everything that was going on the smaller levels that were designed to protect the little man. So it's the design of the country, but most people don't know that. Most people don't study this stuff and don't know all of those things. So that's why I get a little passion. And just passion, it's not anger, it's passion, I promise you.
And that's why we have you on the show.
This is how we are.
Educate. That's why we have you on the show, to educate and provide some facts and statistical analyzation of everything. Thank you.
That makes a lot of
wish
sense.
I
Rocco,
had you as my history teacher. I would have paid attention in class, that's for sure.
I have to listen to him every day, but you know what? At the same time, I ask him questions because I'm going to argue with him, just like because I do it on purpose, just to be the devil's advocate, just to see what he says. And now that he said it, I want to know what Rocco thinks because I know what Rocco was thinking before. Rocco, do you still think the same
Yeah,
way? I mean, I
I do not.
honestly, I don't know the answer
You've
to it
changed my
either.
mind. It makes sense. No, you've educated me, and you have changed my mind. So I think
Well, that's
this
why I
is
asked
gonna-
the question. But
Still
Corey
not the
said
whole
it right.
story. Go look for it. Go
Corey
look for
said it
yourself.
right. Corey said it right,
Right.
when I'm confused
It makes
because I
sense.
live in California. Living in California, we don't follow the rules apparently,
They
and
don't even
that's
follow the
why
California Constitution right now.
that's why I'm so confused, and that's why I'm just like, can we just find somebody who's a good person to lead us? Can we do something right? And I agree. My money was better. The gas was lower. My house was making money. I'm just like, what's going on here? I'm tired of people saying, if you sell your house in California, you can buy a mansion anywhere else in the country. I'm like, no, not in New York, not in Maine, not on the East Coast. And I don't want to leave. This state is a beautiful state. I love everything about it. It's a
is.
beautiful state.
Right.
I can't stand our government, and it's bugging me because I just want to be left alone and just want to enjoy. I like people. I like being nice to people. I love the entertainment industry. Unfortunately, the entertainment industry is the 1% of the world right now. So I get to listen to everybody around me, and it's extreme on all ends half the time. And that's the group of people that I'm around. I don't get to see the rest of the world. That's why I was confused. That's why I wanted to know, how does everybody else feel? Do I feel like, oh, I just need to know what the rest of the world wants? And if the rest of the world gets the president that they want, we should all be happy, right? But the reality is, I think there's too many people in power. And I think Brana said this earlier. It might have been Brana or Beth or one of you guys said that Trump's all about power. I believe in all of history, what runs the world is the people who are searching for the power. And when they got the power, and when these organizations have the power, everything gets chaotic, and everybody better figure it out, or they're not going to be in line with the rest of the world. So thank you, everybody. It helped me out. I'm just as confused as I was before, but at the same time, I'm still in the same boat of like, yeah, that's why I'm not in politics, because I don't know how the hell to answer that question.
Did we hear from Duchess on that one?
Yeah, she was.
Yes, you did.
She was first. She was first.
That's right. That's right.
That's why she said
Bethany was first.
Bethany was
Yeah,
first,
and
and
I
I went
think
to
Duchess
Duchess,
was
and I went to
next.
Suzanne. Yeah.
Are
Sorry.
we missing? Did everyone give their opinion?
Yeah.
Okay, so now who wants to go next? Bethany. Okay, go.
Okay. So yeah. Not to bring it back to politics, but that was my idea for my topic this week. Also, given the presidential race and everything, I thought, what would you guys run on as your platform, as mayor or president? Like, what would your platform be? And I'll give my answer quickly after you guys.
Who do you want first?
Okay, Bethany.
So I don't really know what laws would need to be made or managed, but I think, I mean, I'd have to learn it, obviously, but I think doing the best for the majority of people or meeting people's needs. I think coming together as a community is important, because if we're divided and constantly fighting each other, one, we won't get anything done. And two, it's bad for everybody. Like, we can't just constantly be at each other's throats. So I think, having this unity, and even if you don't get your way, at least, someone's doing the best that they can to kind of make life good for you still, even if it's not what you thought it would be. I think is kind of the more important thing, in my opinion. Okay,
Alrighty.
next.
I guess what I don't want to happen is
Excuse me.
what was very scary when when Trump was our president, which it still shocks me, but anyway. The fact that our country was divided and race and the poor against the wealthy, which I mean, but more so it was a lot of racial division, and it still kind of shocks me like why, you know, people of different race actually support him when he was the one who definitely divided the people. And I don't want that to happen again. That's going back in time, and I don't want to see that again. I think we've come so far and we should continue to grow, especially after the pandemic and, you know, all the trauma that we went through as a world.
So
I think it's important to definitely to come together in a more positive manner and not be divided.
how
Duchess, and
did he divide people?
in all due respect, I think that I don't necessarily think it was Trump that divided the people. I
Okay.
think it was the opposite that wanted the power that they didn't have anymore, that stuck a knife in it and stirred up the problems. And that's the only reason I say this, and is because when I started realizing there's an issue here, because I agree with you for a little bit. I was like, man, he's really pissing people off, but at the same time, I didn't think he was doing anything wrong until all of a sudden I started seeing this thing about Black Lives Matter.
Antifa paid
And it was
organizers.
Antifa, not Black Lives Matter. It was Antifa. And I started seeing, I was like, man, these people are pissed off. And what's going on? Is Trump really making the worst out of people come out? And I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I was watching the news, trying to figure out what's going on in the media. And then I started seeing what the media wasn't showing. And it was other people that were showing it. They had these forklifts coming in and dropping off pallets of bricks on corners of all these major cities where they were about 2 weeks before Antifa
To
was coming in.
throw.
And I'm thinking to myself, where were they getting all these bricks to throw and rocks to throw in these cities? I walk through a city, I can't find anything but gum and crap. You know, where are they finding these bricks? Are they tearing buildings apart? And I think, and this is, I don't care what side you're on. I think no matter who's in power, the opposite side is going to stir it up, and they're going to do this. You see this in every movie, every book, throughout history, the Bible, through World War II. You know, the propaganda that goes out there. People behind the scenes that don't have the power, that think they should have the power, do everything they can to stir things up. So I hear this a lot about Trump dividing the world. I don't necessarily think that he was the one dividing it. Now, he's an asshole. I'll be honest with you. He could say some pretty shitty things. I get it. And I understand 100%. I'm like, damn. And I even myself, I'm like, damn, why can't he be like Reagan? Just make everybody happy. Well, you can't always make everybody happy. You just can't do it. And then
Reagan
there's
did
people.
make everybody happy.
No, he didn't. But you know, don't burst my bubble where I thought Reagan was like my grandpa and he was an awesome guy.
I think it's important that we burst the bubble and stop acting like presidents have always been these fantastic, perfect
No,
people.
they haven't. You know, I
he's
agree.
not any worse. Yeah,
What are you guys
manners-wise
gonna
or
do?
anything else? You know, but
Yeah.
what's your platform, David? So
Yeah,
what would
what are
you
you
do?
guys
I think that I think the people that aren't in power, that wanted to be in power, are the ones starting it, and it goes the other way. If
I'm
Trump
talking about a
wasn't in,
question. Like, what would you do with your?
oh,
Are
it
you
wasn't
gonna
my turn.
end wars, start wars,
Oh
raise
hell,
spending, cut taxes? Like, what is your sky's the limit? What do you want to do as your
free
platform?
beer. Let's all have free beer. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, more pizza days, full cafeteria.
3-day work weeks. No, no. The reality, for me, look, this is why I'm not in politics. But I can tell you this: I'm the kind of person that I really believe that people that have a faith life behind them, they believe in God, they believe in Jesus, they believe in hell, even if they believe in Allah, but there's a difference between the terrorists and the people that just have the relationship. I had a friend who was a nurse that took care of my daughter. He was Muslim. We both had complete opposite religions, but we both got along and we respected each other and loved each other. I have friends that are Mormons. Some of them are absolutely crazy and some of them are really, really good people. And what I find is when you don't get rid of people that believe in love and peace and what, honestly, and I'm just going to say this, the things that Jesus taught throughout history where 7.7 billion people in the world have followed. I think when people are in a good aspect and they love each other and they learn to respect each other and accept each other, I think that makes the world better. But unfortunately, as a politician, I don't think you can get people to think like that, because we live in a country that's freedom of speech, freedom of what you want to believe in. And that's why I don't want to do politics. Not only that, I don't want to do politics because of all the things that are going to come up from Facebook and all the bullshit that I did in my past. It's going to get thrown out there. And I would be the worst politician in the world, because I might have the greatest message, but you're all going to look at me like, you know what he did? So the reality is, I don't know. I can't answer that question. I really can't. I would like to see everybody get along.
Yeah.
Rodney King once said it. Can we
Yeah.
just all get along?
So I'll answer quickly on my behalf. I'll answer quickly. I would get the hell out of everybody's way. My job as anyone that is in government is to provide only what is necessary for survival, and that includes protection. Sometimes that includes infrastructure, but otherwise leave as much as we possibly can to the smaller government and get the hell out of everybody's way so they can live and be who they want to be. Simple as that. I'm not here to decide what people are going to do or not going to do, or who they want this or that. Just as long as you're not affecting the other people and you all want to go out and be. But the job of government, in my opinion, is to get the hell out of your way. That's all there is to it.
I agree with that.
Yeah, David loves Reagan, and one of Reagan's famous quotes, right, was one of the scariest things you can ever hear is I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Right? And I'm like, no, I'm good. Just get out of the way. If I was in charge, that's what I'd do. Get the hell out of everybody's way and let them live. Right? Do what's necessary. Do what government's designed to do. Take care of the necessities and let everybody be.
I agree with that.
with you, Corey.
Let
I agree
people
with
do
that.
their thing. Just don't force everybody else to agree with it.
Right.
We can all live in harmony, can't we?
Yeah. Well,
Sort
we'll
of.
do our
I would
best, but
like
it's not
more law
government.
and order and more
It's
police.
never going to be perfect.
It's just
Well,
not government's job
Let's
to determine
get
that.
rid of the murder and rape and all the other BS on the side. You can't live with that. That's,
Yeah, that's the only reason the founding fathers talked about they actually never talked about the separation of church and state. That comes later, and it's not what everybody acts like. But the idea is that even very religious as they were, the idea is still, it doesn't matter. It's not our job. It's not the job of government, right? It's not our job. It's the people. We're here for the people. And all we're doing is representing what the people want. And the people want no government. We don't want a government. So we're going to limit it as much as we can so we don't have overlords telling us what to do all the time. And when we get into this political battle where we're going to start telling each other morally what we can and can't do, then we have issues. And of course, law and order, like Rocco, that of course matters. The protection of life is one of the jobs, right? Because as a government, we've come together as a society and we've said we're going to protect innocent lives one way or the other. We're going to build roads. We're going to build an infrastructure. We're going to do these things. But I don't know what the hell that has to do with half of the things that people are worried about in politics these days.
I didn't give a rat's ass about Twilight. I never wanted to watch it, and I never have to watch it unless my wife forces me to watch it. The reality is I could turn it off. I don't have to do it. And you know what? There's people out there that love Twilight. Let them do it. That's the way I look at it. I don't like it. I could change the channel. What bugs me, if I change the channel and there's Twilight in a different breed every channel, that's when I start going, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why am I being forced to watch what I have to watch? But I agree with Corey. That's a good point. I love that. I mean, it's probably where I come from, but I'm not good at
that's what I would do, Brana, to answer your question.
All right.
I would design policies that were made to get the hell out of everybody's way. Let America be great again. Right?
Okay. That's fairly clear. Direct.
Brana,
Did everyone answer?
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, you answered more law and order. All right. So me, I mean, a little facetious, but not really. If I were like mayor of New York City or something like that, I would definitely make it mandatory to have numbers outside the building of every building. I
Oh,
get
so you can
lost
find it?
constantly. Yeah, you can find something. Like I'm just out here with my phone being like, okay, walking back and forth on the
Make
screen.
better maps, damn it. That's what we should be
Make
voting
maps
for.
better
Who
again.
can make a
maps
better
great
map for
again.
us?
That's what I would do.
I agree with that.
You live in New York City, right?
Yeah.
You live in New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cities are confusing.
So, okay, Bethany, it's your turn.
I was hoping I could go at the end because I have a very simple question and it's very lighthearted. So is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. You can go last. Who hasn't gone?
Me.
Corey.
Mine's
Oh,
not
Corey.
heavy either.
Okay.
No, mine's not heavy either. Mine's
Oh God, you liar. Stop lying.
no, it's not. It's not heavy at all.
You
It's not
never
heavy at
have a
all.
question that's not heavy.
I agree with that. That's true. You do not ever have a question that's not heavy. I'm
Is it
always-
pepperoni
I
pizza
live
or
with the
cheese
guy.
pizza?
That's my brother.
He wanted to have fun
You're
today.
younger.
Rocco said more fun today, so I made it more fun. Okay. So
Okay.
in the entertainment business,
Fun or funner?
industry, well, light. Let's say light. I don't know if it's fun for you guys, but it's the entertainment business, right? There's all kinds of reboots and remakes and revivals of classic films and TV shows. To me, this shows like a collective yearning for familiar, right? And to me, it raises questions about psychology. But no, I'm not going to get into it, David. Don't worry, I'm not going to make it heavy. But what do you think this nostalgic content in media suggests about our values and our need for comfort and familiarity? And on the lighter side, the question's going to be though, if you could bring back any TV show from your childhood for a reboot, what would that be? How would you modernize it, or would you modernize it at all? Would you just let it be?
Can I go first? Because I already know what I want to say.
Go first. Knight Rider.
No, hell no. I was gonna say Three's Company because that was just funny,
Uh,
but I want us all to laugh at each other over how absurd we are and
Oh, I
how
know.
stupid we can get, and just laugh at how ridiculous the world is that we live in. And I want to say All in the Family. There's no way in God's green earth that show would ever be able to come out again. But I was shocked when I watched it when I got older. I look at it like, holy crap, they got away with that stuff. But they laughed at themselves at how absurd the world was. And I think that was the precursor for what comedy is. We all know what's on the back of our minds. We all know what we're thinking. We all know, oh, I shouldn't say that. That's dumb to say. But the reality is the comedy platform gives people an opportunity to let it out, where you realize, hey, we're stupid. We're idiots because we're all sinners. We all make stupid mistakes. We all say the dumbest crap sometimes. And we all think the dumbest. Hell, we probably even think worse stuff. It's like walking up to an edge of a cliff in the Grand Canyon and looking down, and you see, man, this rail is only 2 feet tall. I mean, these people really think that I can't just trip over it and ruin my life. The reality is I come up to it, my heart starts to go, oh crap. I get a little nervous because I'm dumb enough that I could probably hurt myself. But comedy in itself, shoot, I think All in the Family laughed at everybody, how stupid and absurd the America people were. And it's in your face. That's why they made the Jeffersons, because the Jeffersons went from the other end and came back the other way. It's like, dude, we're all idiots. And we live in a smorgasbord of people around the world. I think it's great. I think it was funny. I think it was awesome. I wish they'd bring it back. Fortunately, it will never happen.
All right. How about you, Duchess?
First of all, we're not all idiots. I speak for at least myself. I'm not an idiot. Yeah. Graduated from Stevens College, like Bethany. Bethany's name. But yes.
Hey, I'm getting my PhD, and he still calls me an idiot, and
I love it.
refuses to call me doctor. So don't worry about it.
I'll always
Don't take it
stick up for
personally.
myself. Who's the bigger brother, by the way? I just figured out you two were bros today.
He's the
I'm
bigger
the
brother.
oldest.
Who, David?
I was the guinea pig in the family. Yes.
Okay. Wow.
I got him by like 8 years.
Okay.
I know I wear an air of maturity that,
Oh my God.
a little wisdom in
right.
the eyes that makes me seem older, but
I think it's the bullshit library books in the background that makes everybody think he's smart.
He had to work hard to prove himself. I get it. Younger brother syndrome. Younger brother. To answer your question, Corey, thank you for your light-hearted question. I would bring back Punky Brewster.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Obsessed
that's
with
a good
Filet
show.
Move Fry. I thought that she was just such a great role model, and I loved her creativity. And I mean, creativity is what drives me. So I would love to see her come back, and also the strength of her relationship with her father, and like, how she just went for she went for her dreams. And I think that all people should go for their dreams, and we should really support that more.
Yeah,
I
that was
like
fun.
that.
That was a fun show.
No rhyme or reason with her outfits.
Good.
I loved it.
Yes,
How about you,
exactly.
Bethany?
She definitely wasn't a poser.
No.
No, she was not. No, she was not.
You got a
Alright,
show you
great.
want to bring back, Bethany?
Yeah, so a lot of the shows that I've seen, they went on for a long time, but that was because I'm an early 2000s baby, so like that's just the way it was. Like Phineas and Ferb was one of the shows my brother and I watched a lot.
Yeah.
It was on for a long time. I think, it served its purpose. But I think Charlie Brown and Snoopy, I know they've had like some movies pop up here and there, but I love him. Love Snoopy. He is the greatest cartoon character of all time. So let's have more. I'd be
I'm with
happy
you
to
on
have more.
that. I'm definitely with you on that. Yeah, we love Peanuts and Snoopy and Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown's Christmas is
Brother?
awesome.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Great-
I Love Lucy. I think that would be great, like a
Nice.
reboot of I Love Lucy for the modern
Yeah.
time. I think that would be great.
Who
Love
do you
Lucy.
think could pull off that role?
So Deborah Messing, maybe redhead.
She does a good job. And I've seen her like play that.
Yeah.
They just didn't
I'm surprised they
pick her.
didn't use her for the movie. I thought
Politics.
she would have been good for the movie. Yeah. How about you, Rocco?
The Benny Hinn Show.
There you go.
I never understood
Do
that
you know
humor
that
when I was
show?
younger. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
was awesome.
I never understood
Yeah.
English humor back in the day. It never made sense to me.
Oh,
but
I love it.
now that I'm
That
old
was
and
hilarious.
It's
you
very
know,
sexy. Very, very sexy.
Yes.
it's probably why I never got it.
Oh my God.
I
theme
remember
song-
watching it. Yeah. The
Go
theme
ahead.
song was awesome, but it was a great show. No, just I was young watching it, and then as I got older, I watched it more, and I was like, "Wow, this is awesome." I love English humor and how sexual it is, and it's just funny. I like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love English humor too, man.
That's probably why I never got it.
Monty Python and all that.
Oh.
And, yeah, Benny Hill. Oh yeah.
Oh my God, Monty Python was so funny. The Life
So-
of Brian, where he's
Yes.
running through, he's being chased, and I want to buy this. Okay, no, haggle with me. I want to buy. You have to haggle with me. Come on. Do you remember that
Yeah.
scene? It was so funny.
Oh yeah. No, I love those movies, that show. For me, I'm kind of like what Bethany was saying. I grew up with South Park and Simpsons, and they're still running. They're not as good as they used to be. Well, South Park still is, but Simpsons isn't. But if there was something from my childhood that I could bring back, I would love to see Jim Carrey and the Wayans brothers come back and start up in living color again. I would love to see them these days, lambast society and everything going on. And I would just love to see them do that again.
Do we have to have Paula Abdul dancing though?
Sure.
Wasn't J-Lo a dancer?
Don't mind her dancing.
J-Lo was dancing in that show.
Oh,
Yeah,
She started in
J-Lo.
Living
It was
Color.
J-Lo.
J-Lo,
Yeah.
J-Lo, my bad. I was thinking Laker girl.
Paula
Yeah.
was a Laker girl, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Huh.
That is my question.
Okay,
That was all.
Beth.
All right.
Awesome. That was a fun
so,
question. Okay, Bethany, now it's your turn.
Yeah, so I heard from my brother this morning that today is World Chocolate Day as of when we're recording. So it is July 7th for the audience because this will be coming out the next day. But today is World Chocolate Day. So my question is, if you like chocolate, what is your favorite chocolate related dish, dessert? If you do not like chocolate or you just can't eat it for whatever reason, what is, I guess, your favorite dessert that you would substitute instead? I'll give my response at the end, but let's start with Corey.
I'm gonna say Cadbury's fruit and nut. I don't know if you've ever had that bar. It's got the almonds and the raisins, and it's a Cadbury chocolate. It's very simple, but that's my favorite chocolate. Absolutely love that one. Cadbury in general just has good chocolate, I think, because the eggs are cool too.
Awesome. Let's go, David.
Well, I don't really eat a lot of desserts, but
Yes, you
on
do.
on the ship I came across I kind of made it myself and it was awesome. I had 2 scoops of chocolate ice cream. Really good chocolate. I don't even know what kind of ice cream it was, but that I hadn't put butterscotch and caramel on it. And then I did something weird and everybody thought I was crazy, but it turned out to be absolutely amazing. I might have been a little drunk, but I put some salt on it for salted caramel. And they looked at me funny because I'm putting salt on my ice cream, and holy crap, it was amazing. So I think I have a new chocolate favorite: chocolate ice cream with caramel, butterscotch, and salt on top.
I can
Try it. Don't
get
knock it
down
before
with
you
that.
try it.
You know, salted caramel is pretty good.
Don't knock it till you try it.
Sounds good to me. I don't know why you would knock it.
Yeah, I mean, like my dad.
Well, when you got a
puts
guy
salt
with
on his
ice cream and a salt
watermelon,
shaker, it
so,
looks
like,
weird.
I can't really judge. I've seen it
Hey,
all.
that's what I told
I
them
put
when they were
salt
all
on my
judging me.
watermelon. I like that.
I said, hey, we all put salt on our watermelon. Why not the ice creams? Try it out. If it's bad, I just don't eat it again. But damn, it was good.
Awesome.
That sounds
I'll
good.
have to keep that in mind. Even though I can't have dairy, I'll think about it. You know, like for a
Lactose
dairy
ice cream.
substitute.
They
Huh?
have lactate ice cream.
Yeah, well, it's not lactose, it's the full dairy. So I probably would go with like the chocolate almond ice cream, you know, like the
Oh,
almond milk ice cream. It's really good. Or cashew milk. They have like it's a really good flavor, by the
if
way.
there's chocolate in it, I'm eating it.
Yeah.
So it's good.
All right, let's go, Rocco. You're next on my screen.
Okay. I would say a chocolate brownie, warm chocolate brownie with nuts in it and vanilla ice cream on top.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Brana, you're next on my
Mhm.
screen.
Okay, I got 3 for you. 3. So, I like C's dark chocolate nuts and chews, like a box, and I also like chocolate gelato, and I also like the flourless chocolate cake with like the hot sauce inside, like the lava cake. Yeah.
Lava cake.
The flourless makes it
really
thicker. It's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Awesome.
That is good.
Let's go to Duchess.
So I grew up with Rocky Road. I love Rocky Road.
Mm.
It's a little Mod Podge thrown together, nuts,
Mhm.
marshmallows. I think also
My
chips were in there too.
my grandmother would make that. It's so good.
Yes.
Well, I guess that leaves it to me. I do a lot of my own cooking, so I've found a lot of what works and what doesn't just because of all my allergies. But most recently, I was cooking for someone who's completely vegan and also for someone who's gluten-free at the same time. I was making brownies and I was like, you know what? I'll try these. And it tastes just like fudge. Like it was gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, everything. It tasted so good, like surprisingly good. So that is my new favorite, and it's friendly for just about everybody. So it was really good. Highly
Nice.
recommend.
If I read the ingredients, I'd be like, "Oh, you're giving us air with chocolate smell in it."
Yeah, that's what most people would
Artificial
say,
chocolate.
but you learn to adapt these recipes when you're like me and you have a billion allergies, and then you have friends who have a billion allergies.
Yeah.
I'll eat whatever's put on the plate and try it.
Yeah, it's really good. I promise. Like my brother and dad were skeptical because they're like, vegan? Are you going vegan now, Bethany? I'm like, no, my friend's vegan. So I
Well,
tried it.
Corey's kids are allergic to water and air. And so we never get half of those things around here, but
Nuts, man. They're allergic to nuts and grass. Like, what are you talking about?
and all the meat they ate grass and no, I'm just joking. I'm kidding.
No.
I got more allergies than that one. And also I'm allergic to grass and I'm in Kansas. So just
Ooh.
it's quite
Kansas
the fun
is,
You need to live in the
combo.
desert.
That's a pollen state.
Yeah,
They
it
just
is.
get,
It's
they
the
get,
allergy
they get itchy
state.
if they roll around in the grass is all. Which the same thing happened to me when I was a kid. If you roll around in it too much, That's all. But
everybody did
nuts,
that.
Yeah, they gotta avoid the nuts for sure.
They should roll around in the hay then.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Gotta get some hay and put it on the
Heck,
ground.
they're a
Might
little
get some
young for that
scratches
right
from
now.
Okay, well, hey, I'm thanking everyone for their time. Thank you for watching this 150th episode. Please continue watching us every week and tune in right here on the FNL Network Talk Show for interesting topics and us going back and forth. Have a good day, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.